This is the time to do the things that were important to you before, but you were so much more hesitant to do it because you had something else to prove. At this point in our lives, who do you have anything to prove to? Hey, y'all. Welcome to the From Surviving to Thriving podcast. You know, the place where we take the veil off and pull the curtains back on our everyday lives. I'm your host, Jackie. So today we'll kickstart the very first episode of my Road to 40 series that will take place up until my birthday in June when I turn the big 4-0. Now, to my male viewers and listeners, this series can benefit everyone, but it may resonate a lot more with the women that view and listen to this podcast. Now, to the women who are currently navigating this incredible chapter of life with courage, curiosity, and maybe a little bit of uncertainty, I'm so excited to be taking this journey with you. Turning 40 is an incredible milestone, and for most people, it comes with a lot of mixed emotions. For some of us, we are excited to step into that chapter of our lives where we feel confident and we feel like we're owning our lives and we are in control and we better understand who we are. Others are pretty anxious. And to be honest with you, I get it because society kind of make you feel like once you've reached 40, that aging process starts to take over. And everyone has a lot to say about women or people of a certain age. That all of that doesn't even matter. This is the time to really step up and rise to the occasion. Regardless of what people may think about 40, there's no need to start to shrink who you are or even be afraid to take certain steps in your life or even to slow down. There's nothing wrong with stepping into a new era of your life with confidence and knowing that you got this because you done been through some things and you done saw some things in your lifetime. This series is all about embracing the person that we are becoming, mind, body, soul, and spirit, so that we can step into 40 with joy, wisdom, and a whole lot of confidence. So, why did I decide to start this series? Well, to answer that question, let me just share a little bit about my journey to 40. So, of course, I spent most of last year discussing what my life experiences were. I started out with this podcast to share my childhood and the traumas that I'd went through and also overcoming a lot of those issues and actually taking a step back and trying to figure out who I was as a person, what I wanted out of my career, what my purpose in life was. So I think last year really got me to thinking about a lot of those things that most people question themselves about before they reach 40. And I'm not even sure if when I started out going through all of that that was even a thought in my mind, but as time went on and I realized, you know what, 40 is right on the horizon. I really need to figure out some of these things that are just lingering questions or lingering baggage that I was carrying and just learn about myself a bit more before I step into that next phase of my life. So 2024 really became the catalyst that pushed me to do a lot of things and a lot of changes and just becoming a different person than I was before while still keeping a lot of the values and the things that are important to me. A lot of that led to self reflection. It led to me going through therapy and it led to me making life changing decisions like walking away from my current role that I had. So while going through all of those things that I went through last year, and then 40 really being months away for me now, I figured this is a series that I can take on, talk about what it is that I experienced, touch on a lot of the topics, and share what my perspective on that topic is and what it means going into the age 40. A lot of the things that I questioned myself about last year was, am I living the life that I want to live? What does success mean to me now that I'm at this point in my life? How do I make sure that I'm taking care of my body? That way it can continue to stay in the shape that it's in or get into a better shape, and it will continue to work for me as I continue this aging process. I also had to take a look at my relationships. Am I being intentional with the people that I have relationships with? Am I valuing those relationships? Are they a benefit to me, or are they really holding me back? And am I truly happy? And if I'm not truly happy, what is it that I need to do to make sure that I am happy in life? Now that I've kind of worked through a lot of those questions and have answered a lot of them, of course, I do feel like some of them I can only answer as I live life and as I evaluate things as they happen and as they come. I think I'm at the space now where I do want to share some of those things and continue to share what the experience heading into 40, like what does that look like for me? And also kind of get some feedback from others as to what that journey to 40 looks like for them as well. I know I'm not the only person that questions myself about all of those things that I just mentioned. I'm sure there are others that have those same questions or are thinking along those same lines, because we're all on this journey of life together. And with 40 being such like one of those numbers that everyone focus on when it comes to your age, especially us women, 40 is such a specific and such a number that certain things happen at that age. And just from talking to like my older cousins and people that have reached that milestone in their life, it's definitely something that we should discuss more and be a bit more open about, because there are a lot of things that women especially were not prepared for when it comes to 40. So I'm hoping that just having this series, having these discussions, not only is it helping me to prepare on my journey to 40, but it might be helpful for someone else who's also on this same journey to 40 as well. So, like I mentioned just now, 40 is one of those numbers that most people, when you hear, oh, I'm turning 40, it's such it's a powerful number. I'm not sure why that is or where that came from, but it's one of those numbers that for women, we hold dearly. Like it's a milestone for us, a big one. The only other side to that, though, is the fact that what we don't hear too much of is 40 is not something that we should be afraid of attaining. Like, I know for some people that, when I'm like, oh, I'm about to turn 40, and they're like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm excited to reach 40. I'm not sure why. I just have been having this, I don't know, it's an exciting journey for me to turn 40. And I'm looking forward to it. But on the flip side, I know that there are people that don't necessarily feel that same joy or feeling of celebration when it comes to that number. And it could be the fact that for most of our lives, we're told that, everything is about being youthful. Like people love to turn the clock back. We don't necessarily want to age for whatever reason, and we don't want to embrace those numbers, but it could just be because society have brainwashed us into thinking that youth is where life actually peaks. And honestly, I feel like 40 is really the age where we are the most powerful, the most confident, and may possibly be like the most fulfilling point in our lives. I think those are the years where we feel the most free to do what it is that we want to do without even contemplating it as much. Like, I feel like we spend our teenage years in school and getting ready for college. And then you go to college and you spend that time there. And then you get out of college and you're in your 20s and you're actually learning what being an adult is about. So you spend your 20s learning responsibilities and going to a job and keeping a job. And then you hit your 30s, and that's where you actually start applying the things that you've learned over the years because you've actually start to an adult now. And in your 30s, you're a responsible person. Most likely you've been in a career for a little bit and you're living life and you're probably starting your family or raising your family. And then I feel like once you get to that 40, you're like, okay, I've done a lot. I've went through all those years. I've learned a lot about myself. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. And now I'm at the point where I don't give up about anything else. I've done it. Been there, done that, experienced it. Now I'm just living the life I really want to live. That's how I view 40. We're at that point in our lives where we're no longer working to please anyone or live up to anyone's expectations. We're now living for ourselves and learning to honor ourselves. So, for any of you guys out there that are about to turn 40 and you have any sort of fear, I want you to ask yourself this. What if this next decade is the best one yet? What if this decade is the decade where you fully step into the person that you truly are and wanted to be all your life? What if this is that decade? Your 40s. I'm not dreading it at all. I am looking forward to being present in my 40s and living my best life in my 40s. So, what can you expect from this series? Well, to start, we'll talk about things like personal growth, taking care of our health, navigating relationships, making smart financial moves, and of course, discovering who we truly are at this point in our life. Some of the episodes will just be me by myself, but I'm looking forward to having some guests who are in their 40s or who are about to enter their 40s, just so they can share some perspective on some of the topics that I just mentioned. But one of the most important parts is I want this to be a conversation that is between all of us. So I would love to hear from you as well. What are your stories? What is your experience? If you're over 40, drop some advice. Give us some feedback on what it is that we can look forward to crossing over into that decade. Share some of your wins, some of your struggles, what it is that we can look forward to when we step into our 40s. At the end of the day, we're all in this together. I wanted to touch on some of the biggest fears that I've heard people talk about when it comes to reaching 40. And I'll also give a little tidbit of advice on how we could possibly overcome that fear. So the first one is fear of regret. Like, did I waste my life? Did I do the things that I was supposed to do by the time I turned 40? That's probably a common question that a lot of us ask. I know I've personally asked my own self that question. Like, I'm at 40, 40 is knocking at my door. Have I done what it is that I needed to do? Did I accomplish the things that I should have accomplished by this age? So I know this is one of the most common questions that people turning 40 has. And the way that we can overcome that is accepting the fact that every experience that we've had, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, taught us something valuable that we can apply to our life. Whatever we experienced in the past, it may have affected us, but it doesn't define who we are now. And it doesn't have to continue to affect who we can be in the future. The next one is the fear of getting old or aging. Now, this one is common. I know a lot of women were, again, taught that youthfulness is, is the thing. Like, nobody wants you after you hit a certain age, but I disagree with that. Like, I do feel like 40 is the, I know we always say this, but 40 is the new 30 or even 20 somethings. Like, I don't know about y'all, but have you noticed, like, us millennials, we definitely do not look our age. Like, I've gotten 20 something, sometimes even younger than that. People think I'm a teenager sometimes. So, even though 40 is here, and of course, I feel it in my knees and I feel it in different parts of my body, I don't look my age. So, I don't necessarily feel that, especially for us millennials, that reaching 40, we should be fearful of aging. If anything, what we should focus on is making sure that we're taking care of our bodies. So that means that, yes, we need to be working out. Whatever working out looks like for you, whether that's walking, running, hitting the gym, whatever it is for you, do it. Because the older we get, the less our body's going to want to cooperate if we aren't doing it now. So get out, get up, and do something. Doesn't matter what it is, just do something. We also want to make sure that we're taking care of our minds. So if that means you need to go see a therapist and work through whatever it is that's been lingering for you, go and deal with that. And of course, our spirit. We want to make sure that spiritually we are taking care of ourselves, we're protecting our energy. And I'm not sure what taking care of your spirit looks like for you, but whatever that is, do it. I guarantee if you're doing something to take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, you will not feel as if aging should really be a fear for you turning 40. Some people have the fear of loneliness when it comes to turning 40. And again, this kind of goes hand in hand with what I just mentioned, where after you've hit 40, people feel like, oh, you can't find the person anymore that you should be with. But that's not the case. So that fear of loneliness is just that, it's a fear. 40, I do feel, is the time where you really can connect with those relationships that you've built over the years and even make them a deeper connection. Like, it doesn't mean that you need to go out and find new people, but if that's what you need to do, then do that. That just because you're 40 doesn't mean you can't make new friends. Let's just say that. Because you can always be open to new connections. But I do feel like at 40, that is also the time where you have narrowed down your circle because you don't have time to play anymore. Those games that people play and you've determined who it is that you want in your circle. You have your boundaries set. You've declared who needs to go. So at 40, that's when you really dive deeper into those relationships and make sure that you are a good friend and that, your friends are good to you or they got to go. Ain't no more playing games after you reach 40. That's over with. So, foster your relationships. Yes, also be open to new ones. And at that age, you know what it is that you're tolerating and what you're not. So, weeding out the riffraffs should be a lot easier at 40. The fear of being behind, or am I where I should be? This is similar to number one, where some people may have felt like they've wasted their time and they're not where they should be. But in this one, just keep in mind that you are exactly where you're supposed to be at this point in your life. And if you're not happy with where you are, guess what? You have all the right and the control to change it. So at 40, just remember that you did what you needed to do. You lived the life that you could live, and that's okay. Your journey is your journey. It does not have to look like the next person. There is no deadline to when you have to reach certain levels of success or some levels of happiness. It's your journey. And whatever that looks like, by the time you reach 40, that is okay. The only benchmark that you have to meet is your own benchmark. So don't go comparing what this person 40 looks like to what your 40 looks like. Be happy with your 40. Be happy with where you are in your journey because it is yours and yours alone. And if you want to change something, you have all the right and all the controls to change it. And finally, number 5, the fear of change. And I just mentioned that if you are not where you want to be at this point in your life, you can change it. So, no need to fear change when you get to 40. This is the time where you look at change as an opportunity to do something different, to do something greater, to try something that you were maybe fearful to try in your younger years. This is the time to do the things that were important to you before, but you were so much more hesitant to do it because you had something else to prove. At this point in our lives, who do you have anything to prove to? I don't have to prove anything to anyone at this point in my life. The only person I have anything to prove to is myself. I don't have to pretend to like something or overwork myself to satisfy a boss or anything like that. No, I'm past that stage. This is it. This is the stage where I'm doing exactly what it is that makes me happy. I'm doing it my way, and that's all there is to it. This is the age where most people decide to reinvent themselves and change careers and step into things that they only dreamed of doing in their 20s and in their 30s. Now you're at a different phase in your life. Do all the things that you dreamed of doing, but second guessed yourself. Take those risks. You can now. Most of you have already raised your children, or your children are at the age where they can do a lot more for themselves and are less reliant on you. So now you have the ability to do you. So do just that. Do you with no regrets. So before I wrap up this episode, I do want to invite you on this journey to 40 with me. Please hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss the future episodes. And if this intro episode resonated with you, or you're looking forward to walking through this journey of 40 together, be sure to share this episode with someone else that you feel could benefit from it, or share it on your social media page so that we can get this conversation about stepping into our 40s in a positive way. Also, feel free to drop a comment below, or even send me a DM at fstt.podcast on TikTok. I would love to hear what's on your mind as you are preparing for this next step in your journey. And even if you just have some insightful advice as to what it's like to be into your 40s or stepping into 40, feel free to drop them comments below. In the coming weeks, as I count down to my 40th birthday, we will be diving into some really good topics. With the next episode being Turning 40, a new beginning, not the end. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, remember the road to 40 is not about endings, it is about new beginnings. I can't wait to take this journey with you all.